So today we're going to try something a little bit different. This will be kind of an unboxing of sorts. For my birthday, I got a little bit of extra spending money, so I decided to pick up the Steven Wilson Remixes of Yes, the Big Goliath box set. This has everything from the Yes album all the way through to Relayer. And I figure, let's dive in and have a look at this box set. And first off, let's just appreciate the actual box itself. Roger Dean using the artwork again. I'm going to bring this a little bit closer here for you. I'm going to let that reset. There's a lot of little details on this that I didn't even realize when I first saw this online. Got like a little deer there and a wolf in the trees, and I love this from Roger Dean's artwork. Like, the more you look at it, the more that really comes out of it. And even from the back, we have a little bit of a dedication, as well as a little bit more of a an emblem there, kind of a looking of the past. And then we have the actual kind of credits from each of the albums there. And what I like about the actual artwork, we'll talk about that just a little bit, is how much dawn or dusk this kind of looks. And with Roger's artwork, it's usually in the middle of the day, and so it's really interesting to see something that's so somber and so majestic in that sense, because it looks like the sun is either just setting or it has just begun to rise. So really, really like that artwork. Now let's talk about the actual albums that we have on here, and I want to kind of stick to the artwork as well. And the first one to talk about is the Yes album. There's not a whole lot to talk about within the reproduction of the artwork within this. You just have the Yes album. And right behind I have the original. So the only real difference is this one has the remixes. Oopsies, covered it up. The re-release just has the Steven Wilson remixes on that side. And this one just has like the AO. And that's really the only difference artwork-wise between the two. The one is a little bit more flushed. Definitely looks like it's been color washed a little bit more. This one, not so much. The backs are pretty much identical. Again, there's not a whole lot of change within the artwork in that sense. And even on the inside. That's the re-release, and here's the original. Again, it just looks like the colors have kind of popped a little bit more. They've kind of flourished into their own. Within the music, I really enjoy Steven Wilson's remixing on here. The bass is very, very strong, so it's really showing Chris Squire's mastery of that. Overall, I think he does a really great job of remastering it. There's a lot more punch, and there's a lot more personality within the instrumentations as well. The use of the stereo system is very well done, and I think he really captured on what needed to be enunciated and what can be left more in the background. Next up, we have Fragile, and Fragile's re-release it has the whole planet, and in the original, I have the original here. In the original, it looks like the planet itself is, there's a lot more of these crusted things. The trees are kind of there, not overly vibrant. So when you look at the reproduction of it, the trees itself have been very well touched up. The water has a little bit more of a whitish tinge to it. Looks much more vibrant and lifelike. Even the trees, as I said, the trees all around the planet just really pop and really flourish. So contrast again with that. Again, a deeper blue, but not quite as fresh. We have the stars up through here, the stars up down through there. Now, there's not too much of the stars here. It's just kind of like a blackish blue kind of a background to that. Now, if we look at the Fragile on this, the Fragile actually has like a rainbow flavor to it. The same can be found here, but it's just a white, so it's the same kind of feel within the Yes and Fragile, but it's not as poppin', as we'll see right there. And again, the back. So the back of the re-release looks something like that. We have a lot more blue within the starship there. We have the planet now falling apart, and you can see all those little details. We got a little bit more of the orange and yellows through the trees as the planet is starting to fall apart. Contrast that, so you can even see where the planets are diverging there. So you only have like a little bit of the planet falling apart here, but here you can almost see the core of it. Even with the flying apparatuses, you have a lot more of the blues. Here's a little bit more of the purple, but you really start to get an idea of depth within that artwork there. You've got the stars and kind of like a Milky Way going on there. Not so much on this, it just kind of has a color tinge to that. Now the inside is pretty much the exact same, as you'll see. You've got the little bit of the lyrics on this side, and then who did what over on this side. Same for the... Again, it's pretty much the same. It's just been a little bit touched up. Yeah, and in terms of the actual mix on this, everything is crystal clear. Everything is like really vibrant. You know, it feels like the album itself has kind of been washed and given a really good scrubbing. And so all the little dirt and grime has all been washed away, and all we have is a really crisp and polished product without really losing a humble feel within more somber tracks like I believe it's Cams and Brams from Rick Wakeman. And Mood for a Day for How, even though it's been polished, still feel very raw and very, very pristine. So the next one we have is Close to the Edge, and it looks a lot more like an oil spill or the corrosion here of the metallics. And what I like is it's got a very vibrant blue. Now compare this to the gradient that we had from the original, where it went from green to black, and I'll show you here. Apologies, my uncle, again, he likes to cut. So the original, it goes from the gradient from green to black. This one, we have a very vibrant blue. We have more of like the greenish in there with very indigos and blues and purples and stuff. Again, the back, it looks like it's pretty much the same. On this one, we have it as a blue indigo. This one we have as a deep green, and it continues that gradient on there. I always wondered who this guy was. And even on this guy, like right there, I always figured that was Eddie O'Hurd, but not 100% sure. They never really make it all that astute. And the inside gatefold of the new release is the exact same as the original. I'll just give you an idea. Here's the original. And so it kind of shows like where things have been touched up and where things have just kind of been left alone. So that is really, really interesting. Beautiful, beautiful take in terms of the mix here. Steven knows, again, when to emphasize certain instruments, when to downplay other ones. Everything is top-notch, and the actual Close to the Edge suite, just brilliant. It's so well produced. Now, I had a chance to listen to those three. The last two I didn't get a chance to really listen to, so I'm not 100% sure how they sound. But this is, I've realized, less of a review of the actual audio and more of just a gushing of the presentation here. And so this is my second favorite album from all of Yes, and that is Tales of Topographic Ocean. And just look at how this pops. This album artwork just pops right out of the screen. We now have this landmark really being the focal point of the Topographic Ocean. We have the little pyramid there that's still there, and the fishes are there. They're both a little bit different. I think the pyramid's still pretty much the same. The fish are definitely very different. They're very blue. This is definitely now the focal point as opposed to the other one. And then we have into the back, again, the landmarks, the land mass is really what is the focal point on the Topographic Ocean. We have a little bit of a wing here for the Roger Dean. We almost have like a little fossilization over on that part. And the gatefold itself, again, not a whole lot of change. So this isn't the original, this is the re-release that was put out a couple of years ago. So that's kind of the contrast, right? They've kind of shifted the focal point a little bit over, so now that this over is the real focal point, see? So there's the new release, here's the original, and on the back, it looks like they've pretty much moved things over, like the original backing, the re-release backing. Like this landmark was only really hinted at on this one. Like there's kind of that sense there. And that's kind of like where that continues on that. And then this landmark wasn't even really apparent on the original. Like that's kind of a little bit, but even then, that's not quite right either. So it looks like that's like that. It kind of folds over so you can see it like that. And then we have the ending there, which it looks like it's the same thing, but a little bit different. Anyway, I really like that. And the fish, right? So the fish we have only on the back of the original, and now we have a little bit of the fish here on the re-release. Just beautiful. Yeah, again, Topographic Oceans is one of my favorite albums by them, and it keeps wavering between my actual favorite. Close to the Edge is still the best, but in terms of my favorite, Topographic Oceans is always kind of there. And the last one we have is Relayered, and Relayered, much like the Yes album, doesn't have a whole lot of change to it. And in fact, I'm going to show you the original. So really it's only the color, and I don't know if this is just because of the weather and wear. This is the original pressing from the 70s. So this one's a little bit more grayer. This one has definitely got more of a vibrant kind of a pink indigo style going on in that. You still see the snake, you still have the army men there. You have the snake completely coiled on this side. Again, I'm going to bring the original up. Got the snake there on that side. So in terms of the actual artwork, not a whole lot of change. And the gatefold itself, again, nothing's really changed. It's all kind of the same. And just for comparison, the inside, this is a little bit more blue. And probably a little bit more faded just with over the years. And so that's about it within the actual artwork, within the presentation. A very, very well done box set. I know in the past when I've purchased box sets, like I've got the Beatles box set, I was looking at the Genesis reissued box set from their 1970 to 1975, and the artwork really didn't change. It was just kind of the touch up of the audio, and the audio, it's kind of touch and go. But this one I'm very, very pleased with. The audio reproduction is astounding. Steven Wilson really did his best in that. Everything is much more vibrant and much more crisp, but unlike a lot of those reissued and re-releases, he doesn't tinker with the actual music. He just kind of polishes up, remixes things, brings things more into the forefront, and you can hear and pick out every little detail that, yes, laid down as the foundation. The only thing I would recommend, or the only real tinge that I have against this, is that they didn't include Going for the One. Going for the One is one of my favorite albums, and that's really, in my mind, the absolute necessity for a box set. Everything from the Yes album all the way to Going for the One. The fact that they stopped at Relayered, I'm like, I really wish they had Going for the One, because that captured the best part of Yes. But I mean, I'm not going to complain when Steven Wilson remixes that for its 40th or 50th anniversary. I'll just pick it up on its own, and that'll be that. So that's about it. That's the Steven Wilson Remixes Yes box set. What did you guys think? Again, this is a new little thing that I've done, just kind of deep diving into the actual aesthetics of the artwork of the music instead of talking about directly the music, and it's something that I always like, and something that's not really talked about too much on music channels. They usually just talk about the music as opposed to the overall art form of the music. So let me know what you thought about this by commenting down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, you guys are definitely the best, and until next time, notes out.